lighting. You okay?
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about this radio.
Alright, so here's the radio I picked up some years ago. It's a little AC set made by a Travler, which is kind of cute. Pretty economic set. They weren't very expensive back in the day. A lot of them were given away as little promotional items. This one still has its original rear cover and original power cord. Yada yada. So it's nice. It's probably about somewhere around mid-40s, 1946, 48 maybe. Model 5050. 4 tubes and rectifier. So
Is it working right now?
So this one kind of works. So if I plug it in, it makes a lot of noise. This being an AC set, there's not much to lose. So we already kind of knew it had some issues, and here's what it sounds like. You plug it in, turn it on, you can see all the tubes lighting up. So I already knew this had some problems. It doesn't have a transformer, so there's not a whole lot to burn inside this thing. But as you can see, turn it on. Wah. You get that really loud buzz. It does kind of work though, see? You turn it on again.
Odyssey portion. 1-800-713.
You can kind of pick it from stations. So it's mostly working. So this is a pretty easy fix. This is just your typical filter capacitor failure. So little AC home sets like this are very easy to repair. I mean, unless you have a transformer inside them, then you might have a few more challenges. So basically all I really do is loosen up the bolts in the bottom.
Remove the screw.
Couple screws down there. This one has the volume control knob. Should pop off pretty easily. As you can see,
Remove the knobs.
it's got a little felt pad in here to keep it from keep the knob from rubbing against the dial, which is kind of peeling already, so it doesn't matter. And this knob, the tuning knob, has a set screw under here. So you only do undo that first before you pull that knob off, which should come off pretty easily.
So you have to pay attention. You don't just go and pull up knobs.
Yeah, you can't just yank that one off. It's in pretty good shape, and the dial's not too bad. So this is the delicate part, the back part, which is already warped. Carefully remove it.
The back is made out of paper,
Yep,
huh?
it's cardboard, so yeah. Cheap and probably a bit of a fire hazard back then. See, a little piece of the back tore off.
There.
I just like to keep it together, but yeah. So the back is original and intact. There's some information back there from Travler. So this is what it looks like on the inside. You've got your...
Dusty.
Yep, it's old, it's 1940s, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tubes.
Is the tube about to fall off? It looks like it's wiggling.
Yeah, they tend to get loose after a while. That's because they're held in by their pins, and the metal clamps for holding in the pins, like the pin sockets, they just lose their tension over the years, so it's a little loose.
Can you show the pin?
Oh, yeah, I can show the pins. So, just kind of wiggle it out so
Yeah,
you can see the pins on there.
Those pins.
So this is your typical audio output tube, power amp tube. Looks like it's, could be better.
Where is it made from?
Most tubes are made in the USA, so this one still has its original labels on there. It's made by...
there it is, USA, made in the USA.
So this is actually made by Raytheon. So Raytheon makes defense systems now. But back then they made tubes. So yeah, that's that guy. I'll put it back in later. So I'll start off by, I'll pull out the RF tube real quick. And that way you can get to these guys over here. So you gotta
What's
remember
that?
So these are antenna connectors. It's kind of hard to see in the picture. Get some light on it real quick. So this is this is a built-in antenna. So you see these two little wires up here?
Those are the antennas.
So they go into the wood, and the antenna is actually wrapped around underneath. So you can see this. See how it's kind of not quite even right here? It's kind of going out of focus a bit, but yeah, it's underneath the coating. So this is actually kind of a fabric wrap, and they wind our antenna all around the perimeter. You can kind of see, put an angle, see it right there, how it's lifting up a little bit. So it's underneath here. It's very clever. So that way, it kind of you don't have the antenna built into the back cover like many radios do, and it keeps it a bit more compact and less complicated. So you just pull these off. If it's original, these should just slip right off. So you can see this. These little connectors are original. Yeah, they slip off. A lot of times, repairmen will break these off or snip them, and they will just solder them onto these tabs over here, which will mean that when you repair the radio, you'll have to unsolder them, and it's just a bit more of a pain. So it's kind of cool to have it original. It just pops off like it should. So this is rubber wire. I just felt it crackle. Rubber tends to get crackly and flake off over the years. So this radio is probably never, the chassis was probably never taken out ever. It's probably mostly stock. The tubes were obviously changed because Travler made their own brand of tubes, or they didn't make their own tubes, but they rebranded them. This is a Canrad. That's kind of a cheapy brand. So the brand here is a National Union. Pretty common. This guy over here. Hytron. So that's the rectifier tube. I'll put a couple of these back here so I don't have to struggle with them again later. So I don't forget the tube layout. I went in there and the Canrad went over here. Just toss them in. That way I don't go.
So you just snap it in.
Yeah, and that way I don't have to. So as long as you keep a couple tubes in there, you don't have to fiddle around looking at the tube diagram to remember which tube went where. As I will forget also. I don't have a. Well, the diagram's actually written on the inside here, for better or for worse. So this particular one has a little diagram. Very nice. Obviously the tubes were meant to be changed. They do burn out like little light bulbs. So since I got these screws out, let's pluck these out. There we go. Pull the screws, hold onto the chassis because the chassis is going to start to flop around. Pull it out. Pull it up by the IF transformer. And there we have it. So the inside, you can see, here's the full tube diagram, which is pretty cool. Yeah, it tells you where they all go. It tells you what does what. It tells you also where to tune it. So the over here, the oscillator and antenna trimmer, these are used for alignment. The IF coil, first and second. You also tune these lugs over here when you do when you tune it for optimal performance. So you can see there's a little inspection mark down there. Some inspector stamp. And in the side, they have a little plug here that goes through. So that's actually used for peaking the antenna. So that does a final adjustment on the antenna. It allows you to access this tuning screw right here. So it's kind of clever. What happens is that when you change the tubes, the tuning will tend to drift. Like it won't be an exact alignment. It usually drifts at that time. So people will change the tubes and then they'll stick a screwdriver through the side and peak it for best performance and to kind of do some fine tuning. So when we do the repair of this radio, we'll be using these sockets over here. First IF, second IF. These are the trimmer coils or trimmer capacitors to to align the intermediate frequency. I won't go into that, but that's part of getting a good alignment. So if you're restoring an old radio, it's not just changing the capacitors. You want to go through and get the frequency in tune so that you have a good selection and good station selection. So when your dial lands on say 810, it lands sharply on 810 on the dial. It doesn't kind of fade, and that way you have a better signal strength and selectivity. So that's essential part of tuning. Oh look, so here's the speaker. Here's a little rip that's been repaired. So obviously somebody's pulled this out at some point. See right there? They put a little rubber cement on there, but it's in very good shape. A lot of times you'll come by these speakers that'll be ripped and just tattered by repairmen sticking their fingers through there accidentally. So that's a common problem with repairing a radio, is their speakers exposed, and over the years the paper's very delicate. It becomes actually brittle, and sometimes around the perimeter will actually crack, like the spider, the little flexible part over here, will crack and start to kind of disintegrate on some radios. Thankfully, this doesn't need extensive repairs, but it's something to be very careful of. What I'll usually do is I'll take a piece of cardboard and cut it out to the shape of the speaker, and then I'll strap it on there with some zip ties, or something, maybe put something through the little holes over here to hold a piece of cardboard over, and then that way I don't accidentally get a screwdriver through it or stick my fingers in there, or it bumps against the corner of a case and makes a big old mess of the speaker. Right now, I'll just show you what this is all about. So I'll usually put a little bit of say 2040 or some machine oil or engine oil into these points to make it so it tunes a little bit better. It tends to get a little bit stuck over the years, like the grease dries out. Usually lube those, lube back here because there's some ball bearings inside there. See them? Put some grease or oil in there. Put some grease or oil on these friction points on the variable capacitor, and put a little bit on the little ball that's back here. There's a little ball bearing friction point in the back of the variable cap. So that way, it starts to, you're able to tune it nicely. It doesn't kind of jump around. And as you can see, the rubber wire here is starting to disintegrate because it's really old, and rubber is just kind of crappy to use as an insulator. See, there's little pieces of it breaking off inside there. Kind of sucks. I'll probably end up changing it. This is not high voltage. It's not associated with high voltage. So if I just leave it like this, it'll still be safe, but it just looks like garbage, and it can touch something, and if this bare wire touches the case, it will make you lose your radio signal or cause crackling or something, and no one wants that. So under here, we can see it's basically, it's basically untouched. Everything, well, maybe this cap might have been replaced at some point. This looks a little bit odd, this black one. But everything else looks pretty well original, I think. Yeah. Hard to say exactly. This is definitely original, this filter cap. And yeah, maybe someone's been under here at one point, but everything is, these are like old ancient paper capacitors. And as you can see, this one has died. See how it's losing its guts? This little cylinder is leaking all of its internals out. As you can see in there, it's empty. So this capacitor has overheated, probably internal short, and overheated and leaked all of its guts all over the place, and it's just disgusting. This capacitor looks bad also. See how the insides are kind of leaking outsides? It's kind of bulging out. This one down here too. So this might not necessarily be from capacitor failure. This could also be from age, heat. The heat maybe makes the insides expand a little bit because the radio got hot. But these should all be changed. This guy, this guy, this guy. These little plastic ones down here, these are also paper on the inside, and they are prone to failure. So all of these guys had to be changed. Technically, right now, if I just change the filter cap, which is this guy over here, it will probably work. It won't work that great, but as you can hear, you can pick up stations from it. So change them all, and then do an alignment. Sometimes, you know, these are microcapacitors. These are usually pretty reliable, but sometimes these go bad too and will cause crackling when you're listening to a station. There's usually one or two of them that I change. It's probably going to be this 100 over here, you know, the brown, black, brown, just for peace of mind. Then I'll spray some cleaner into, this is the volume control, the on-off power switch and volume control. I'll spray some cleaner into that, you know, deox it to help, you know, when you're tuning the radio, sometimes it'll crackle as you're turning up and down the volume. So spraying a bit of cleaner inside there will help to alleviate that, bring it back to better condition. And in the process, I will probably end up cracking some of these rubber wires. So if they really crack badly, I'll probably have to change them because there's some higher voltage lines in here. But yeah, that's basically about it. So this radio is practically untouched. And I'm just going to go to the shop and change out some of those caps. And we'll start working from there on the next steps. I'll stick these tubes back in so I don't forget them. And there we have it. Just be sure to keep your stuff together.